Hello, this is Tiptoe, and welcome to Rant 2 Lost Saga Balance. So, first off, I want to thank everybody that supported the first video. It meant a great deal to me. So it was good to know that wasn't a complete waste of time. So, I've already recorded this once, but I didn't feel... It felt more like me stating things than actually doing anything that would be significant. And I don't think naming out stuff is really a good way to go about a rant. So let's just go ahead and get on with it. Game balance. I've been playing Lost Saga for over 2 years. I was a closed beta tester, and I've pretty much been here ever since. I can't really say that I haven't taken a break from the game, but I've at least logged in nearly every day since the game came out. So, I guess that should be enough to say that I should have at least a little bit of knowledge on how things are currently. So, to get started, Grand Templar. Let's go ahead and get him out of the freaking way. He is considered overpowered because he is incredibly strong, he's fast, and he's practically every hero. Well, not every hero. He has good aspects about him that usually only a hero only has one of. He's strong, he has good guard breaking, knockback, and he even has a recovery gear. So the reason why people can't stand this is that it's harder to react to something that's that fast. But even if you can, there's so many stuns in the game that last long enough to be edged from just about anywhere, just from getting stunned once. So the main combo that goes in hand with this is using the Ice Mage's weapon skill Blizzard to freeze people, and then have all the other team just go in there with Templars holding D down, and then using the guard breaker to knock them off the edge, or using the windmill skill. There's a lot that needs to be done with Grand Templar. I've heard he's got a nerf or something, some kind of balance patch in Korea. I don't care about that. This is North American Lost Saga. I don't look at Korean Lost Saga for very specific reasons. And one of which being that this should be balanced and modified to fit our community, not the Koreans. So, with that in mind, a lot of people have said a lot of stuff on how to balance Templar. Now, while I don't agree with all of it, I do agree with most of it. One is his running speed is way too fast. It needs to be toned down. Maybe meet somewhere in the middle between pre-reform and the new reform. His holding D charge attack, he should be barely able to move while doing that. He can his whole D walking speed is almost about as fast as him just moving normally. Also, going with that is the charge to it is a little too fast for how far it knocks back, even with like a half a second charge. You know, it's not that, it doesn't take all that much. So that needs to be toned down. The charge rate and the movement rate for that. I don't think his knockback should be nerfed in any way, to be honest. We've had to deal with that ever since he came out. I mean, if the knockback has gone farther from the reform, bring it back to the normal. I mean, he has a helmet for that very reason, to send people flying. So, they buffed that in a way. So, another thing people complain about is windmill. Now, the only thing I personally have to complain about it is the fact that the invincibility frames are quite long. I mean, it's not really that big of a deal, but most people believe that his movement speed while doing that is way too fast, which I kind of can understand that. It's a very large, well, semi-large AoE that knocks back pretty far, and it's hard to escape even with Robin Hood's tumble. I should know. I use Robin Hood all the time. So that the movement speed should probably be slower, a lot slower. The knockback, I think, is fine. I don't think that it should be able to hit you more than once. I think once you get hit by it once, you should be considered knocked down. Because I've been hit. Sometimes I've gotten hit by it 3 times, and it just gets sent flying. No fun about that at all. Things that go, like I said before, that the Ice Mage's Blizzard skill goes hand in hand with this because of the stun. The frozen status. Well, obviously a way around that is, use an Ice Cape. But not everybody has access to one all the time. And it does get quite aggravating to have to waste a trinket skill just to protect your team, although it's usually a good idea to have it anyway. But, that only protects against Blizzard and any ice thing that Jin Kutaragi uses. So what's the point of that? If there's no Jin and just an Ice Mage using Blizzard or something, it's not going to protect you from an Ice Rogue. I guess it protects you from the hat now, or the Ice Cap now, but anyway, moving on to Blizzard. There's a lot of people that think Blizzard's ice skill should have to hit twice in order to freeze. I can understand why you would want that, but you also have to think about the fact that we want to balance these heroes so that they're still usable, but not so blatantly broken or OP that everybody wants to play them for these reasons. I think if you were to make it to where you have to hit two shards have to hit one person to freeze them, that would destroy the Ice Mage. Nobody would ever use it. As it stands right now, you can only hit one person, maybe two, twice with two shards, one person. Wow, I can't talk today. Basically, it'll be hard to hit 2 people with 2 shards. And yeah, I understand that there should be some way to balance this weapon, but I don't think hitting multiple shards to obtain that freeze status should happen. We don't have to use multiple meteors to get the burn status, do we? No. So what do we do about this? I say we shorten down the overall time spent frozen. Because a lot of times when I see Templars and stuff try to hit me while I'm frozen, I'm just about to get free for them to charge up enough to get, to hit me. Right before I'm free, he hits me. So if we lower the amount of time freezing and combine that with the fact that Templar's whole D charge should be slower, then you've already got a much more chance of survival there. So it would probably give other people tons of time to figure out different ways to go about that, using some different skill or something like that. I've seen plenty of people wait for the freeze to get over and hit you with a charged Space Trooper shot. I think that's a little bit more viable than just straight going in there and just like Foosh Ro Da them off the edge with a Templar. A little Skyrim joke there. Anyway, so I really think the developers need to look at what we think about these heroes, not what the Korean players think about them. Yes, this does hinder us for the World Cyber Games because we have to use some kind of version, but at the same time, I don't really think the World Cyber Games is a good excuse for us to be having these issues. So, with that in mind, I really think that the Templar and Ice Mage should really be looked at. But for the Ice Mage, just know that without the Templar, some things don't seem to work out that well. So to look at the Ice Mage and deem him completely overpowered simply because the Templar comes next is a little bit overkill. So there's a lot more that needs to be done. Warhorn is obviously a lot of people have hated it ever since the gear came out. My only complaint is that the stun is invisible. That is my only complaint. Maybe that it lasts a little too long, but I think we should have some kind of like fading white circle that comes out from the center out to signify that this is there. I don't think it should be invisible in any way. Not even Sapper's mines are completely invisible most of the time. So Another broken gear, Levy's robe. I've had people tell me on and on and on, it's not broken because you can block it. That's all fine and dandy if you're a mage. You can easily block if you're a mage. You have 360-degree block. There's nothing that can't hit you if you're blocking. Well, except for, unblock or guard breakers and that kind of stuff. But for a melee hero, the little dragon things that come out usually end up going up or like flying up and then curve down towards you. Which way should you block if you're melee? Is it going to hit you on the head and it doesn't matter? Do you have to guard from the front, from the side? Do you have to guard your back? You can't tell all the time. That's an issue. The fact that it picks up targets that are on the ground, in the air, and just standing there, that's also an issue. I don't really think it should pick up off the ground at all. In the air, I think that's kind of cool. I mean, and if they're standing still, no, it should hit them then. So anybody that complains about that doesn't understand the premise of when you should actually hit somebody. But we already have enough stuff to stun people on the ground. It wouldn't take much effort to actually hit somebody on the ground with that. But probably the biggest issue with this item, this gear, is that it puts anyone that gets captured in front of the person that used it. It makes it so easy to land an edge, or to land an edge on multiple people with this one gear. One gear, 3 people, 3 edges. With all you have to do is simply use like windmill with the Templar. Use hold D on Tau. Anything would knock someone right off the edge. And it's a huge game changer, and it shouldn't be that great. Now it should do something. The way to balance this is a little bizarre. But at least there's something we can say we can do. It's not like the priest world where you sit here and think, what should they do to it without taking the overall purpose of the gear away? Now, people have gotten used to priest robe. I haven't heard anybody really complain about it all that much anytime soon. But well, I'm not going to get into priest robe. They've pretty much ignored that factor, and I really don't care to go back there. But to balance Levy robe, we need something like less targets, can't ground hit, and random spots around the caster, not directly in front of them. So that's about all you can do without taking away the overall purpose of that gear. Now, I may sound like I'm just stating a bunch of stuff, but I'm trying to use my voice to talk to OG Planet / the developers, whichever. I want them to actually hear our opinions, because a lot of times text doesn't get across. So, with that in mind, I'm hoping that they'll hear from it. They'll understand that, people aren't happy about this. Especially the statement about, we are currently happy with Templar. That is what OG Planet said in one of their Q&As. The player base is not happy with this. The players, your customers, are absolutely furious with the way things are now. And it should be obvious, because 9 out of 10 topics on the forums are complaining about Templars and Ice Mages and all that jazz. Yes, there's ways to adapt to Templars and Ice Mages, to counteract them, to combat them, but it shouldn't be the main focus is to simply counter it. The focus should be, how do we adapt to beat our opponents? Not how do we adapt so that we don't die from these 2 heroes specifically. Okay, so that's pretty much the whole spiel about broken gears and stuff. Now let's mention some things that are a little underpowered. I have to thank Nier, or Nate, as you guys, I'm not sure which one you guys really remember him as, but he mentioned the fact that there are gears such as jetpacks and things like backdash that they're kind of being left behind by these newer gears. And there are tons of recovery gears in the game now. It used to be that jetpacks used to be the only things that you were recovery other than the Tech 1 Master Headband. And with that in mind, jetpacks need to have another look at. Their cooldown is so insanely long to make them a viable option. The cooldown needs to be shortened a lot. And you can't really say that that's overpowered because it's not. You can't use it in sudden death already. That already hinders it. Second of all, you can put you can put a burn status on them or something to prevent them from using it. If you use something like something that slams down on the ground, like Soul's Trinket when you jump in the air. I don't think jetpacks work with that. Now, somebody will have to check that for that. The point is that I don't think making the cooldowns much, much shorter on a jetpack is going to cause any problems. In fact, I think it would solve a lot of things. I would love to use those jetpacks that I got. I have each kind as an epic gear, but I don't use them. And the heroes that defaultly have them, I don't use them. I use some other trinket because the jetpack is just useless to me. By the time it's charged, the battle's over. This is something that needs to get looked at. And, I wouldn't know what you could do with backdash. I believe it already works in the air. So I was just pointing it out that there's other gears out there other than just damage-doing ones. And they need to be looked at so that they're more usable. In higher games, high-end games, people who have been playing for years, we don't use those gears because they're not useful. So, just something else that needs to be looked at. Now, I realize this is a lot longer, but I have one more thing I would like to cover. And this goes back to the whole, I don't think the developers are really looking at our game, our version as much. I don't know if other versions of Lost Saga are having this problem, but lag-sensitive skills. This is an issue that just, it makes me very, very angry. Because I have purchased Ragna. He is a hero that is only obtainable by spending Astros, by spending real money. I mean, yes, you can get him for a short amount of time through a hero scroll. But I bought this hero, and his trinket does not work. The only person the trinket has successfully worked on is my brother. He is probably 15 feet away from me in real life. Of course it's going to work on a peer-to-peer game. But I don't understand why I can't use it on someone else, anyone else in the game, even if they're not lagging, if I'm not lagging. Why do these skills not work? There's tons of examples of this. Pro Wrestler, the majority of his entire skill set, his move set, is based on grabbing people and throwing them and that kind of stuff, and none to barely any of it works. Yes, it deals damage. I don't think that's an excuse to not fix it. It's broken. We paid for broken products here. The alpha gears, like the alpha armor, you can't use it on... You can only use it on specific people that you know it works on. We spent money on this. Why doesn't it work? I may sound really mad about this, but, people in real life don't stand for this, and we shouldn't either. I mean, if you go to Lowe's and you buy a tool and you open it up and it's broken, are you just going to sit there and say, oh, well, it's fine? No, you're going to take it back. You're going to demand your money back or demand that the product be replaced or fixed. When consoles break, when we had people who have Xboxes who have the red ring of death, Microsoft extended the warranty so that it could get fixed for free because it was their problem. It was their fault. It was their responsibility to fix something like that. And it should be the developer's responsibility to find some kind of way to get around this. There are tons of skills that work without this happening. Priest Robe locks up animations just as much as a lot of other things. And you don't see lag causing problems with that. So this stuff really needs to get looked at, and it really needs to get fixed. Balance with some of the heroes. They need to be specifically balanced for our community so that we can be content. Not so that the Koreans can be content. So that we can be content. We need to look at gears that perhaps need a slight animation change, like the Warhorn. It needs that little radius. Maybe it's too fast. Levy's robe needs to be changed. You need to look at jetpacks, all that kind of stuff. This stuff needs to get looked at, and it needs to get fixed. And it's up to the developers to do it. We can sit here and twiddle our thumbs and complain about it all we want. But it really does come down to the developers, and we need to show them, hey, we aren't happy with this. We paid for this, and we are customers to your game. We play your game, and we would love to see these things fixed so that we can enjoy it and keep playing and possibly buy more of your products. You know, if I was sitting there and was only concerned about money, I'd ask everybody to fix these issues as soon as possible. Now, if they're researching it, fine, but we can do our part to help too. I mean, we can send videos of it, so what? What is that? Does that really help us? The problem needs to get fixed, not just researched. Now, I realize that this stuff takes time. It could take weeks, it could take more than a month to figure out why a skill doesn't work because of lag. Lag is, in most cases, hard to produce. It's hard to reproduce. But that shouldn't stop you from trying things, at least. We should have some kind of beta team. Tons of games do that. They pick specific players that are quite active and very knowledgeable to test out patches, to find things that are wrong with it, and to suggest changes that would benefit the overall community. So with that in mind, you know, it could be something that you guys could look into. If the server is the reason why these things happen, then you really need to look into getting an East server. Because I am in the East Coast and I have these problems. So that's something that, you know, is looked into. But I realize that means you guys have to get a building over in the East Coast. You guys have to set up the server. You have to code the game to figure out which or how close you are to which server. So that's just something that you need to look at. But anyway, I've probably rambled on too much. I want the developers, I want OG Planet to hear the community. I want them to actually hear it with their ears, not read it with their eyes. Whether or not this is effective, whether this does a darn thing, I don't care. The worst thing they can do is sit there and tell us no, that we won't look at this. We won't fix it. At that point, it's up to us to decide what we'll do. Whether we'll just stay and put up with it, or we'll go. I mean, what else do you expect us to do? We if you wanted to, well, let's just all go to OG Planet and start some kind of rally. That would work, right? No, nobody has that kind of money, and most people that play Lost Saga are probably too underage to get that kind of permission to go over there. I'm 21. I can go over there if I want. No one's gonna care. But you know, most of the player majority are still in like late middle school, high school, and that kind of stuff. So, anyway, I'm just rambling at this point, but that's pretty much it. There's a lot of issues in the game that I think needs to be looked at, other than just balance and lag sensitive skills and stuff like that. But that's a issue for another time. And as far as I know, most of that's going to be fixed very soon. So I'll look forward to that. Anyway, I'm sorry if this was a little long for you, Arnard, or Arnold, or I'm not exactly sure how to say your name. You said my last video was 11 minutes too long on a 12-minute video. So I'm sorry that this one is like 23 minutes too long for you. Anyway, I would once again, I'd like to thank everybody that supported me through this. So it does mean a lot. So I thank you. This is Tiptoe, and this has been Rant 2 of Game Balance, and that's pretty much it. I will see you guys next time.